Hello everyone, Father Bob Gross here. It is Sunday 11:47. Just got done with Masses, and this weekend we gave the follow-up to the video I made earlier in the week about the progress of the consolidation of St. Teresa of Calcutta School. So I want to thank publicly Amy Taylor, the chair of the board, and Jess Peters, the vice chair of the board, for being with me at the 4 Masses to offer an update. I'm going to give all 3 of our speeches kind of the progress and the updating that we wanted to do. There were a couple handouts in the parish bulletin that if you go into church today, you can still pick up. Some of the things I'm going to talk about refer to that, and if you really want those documents, you can get a bulletin, or you can contact me and we can email that to you. So today begins Catholic Schools Week, and most of the time Catholic Schools Week is when students go to school but they don't go to class. And I hope we even actually have Catholic Schools Week the way the weather's looking. And it's a celebration, of our Catholic schools. Our parishes have celebrated and funded and sponsored Catholic schools for a very long time. And we want to make sure this opportunity is given to our children until Jesus comes again. And one of the things that I really appreciated Amy saying is that the main principle that has guided us as a school board and as a long-range task force is to seek consensus. And consensus means that we are able to come to an agreement, and it may not be our first choice, it may not be anyone's first choice, but it is something that all of us can live with in order to move forward together. And I think that's what we've been trying to do as the St. Teresa of Calcutta board. So I offered a video last week, and one of the sheets that we handed out was the core values that we had in making these decisions to go forward. And in light of what we've been making decisions of, we have found out that our decisions may not have supported the 5th core value, and that's what this is. Catholic schools need to be run efficiently to be the best stewards of our limited resources. So recently our board combined the 2 school budgets into one with the most accurate figures that we've had in years. And the board was tasked with closing the gap. And really, after much discussion, it was about a 4.5-hour meeting, I would say 4 hours. After much discussion, research, and prayer, we've decided that next year, St. Teresa of Calcutta School will operate in 2 locations, Austin and Spillville. And the grades will be K through 2 and 5th through 8 in Austin, and 3 and 4 in Spillville. And the tuition will go from $1,300 to $1,600, and we will reduce 4 teacher positions. The before and after school programs will still be offered at their present locations, and our preschools will remain in their current locations. So some may ask, how did we get here? And I thought we didn't consolidate to save money. Over the past 4 years, many of the realities that were originally examined by the task force have changed, and we have had to adjust accordingly. Small town Northeast Iowa has experienced significant contraction, as evidenced in many of the factors that we put in the handout. And enrollment figures 4 years ago were on an upward trend, but they have since started to and are projected to decline. This is not true just for us, just for Catholic schools. It's affecting public schools as well. For example, next year's incoming 4th grade class is 29 students. But taking into account our baptismal records and projections, future enrollment quickly drops to under 20 students per class. So CFS and DeSales have been operating with the lowest tuitions in the Archdiocese, placing an unfair strain on our parishes. And in the past, the budgets for the schools were not very clear and definitely did not align to each other. And at that time, it was understood that the schools were making it each year. And it was debatable whether the true savings of shutting down one site was actually present. But many efforts have since been made by the Finance Committee, one of the 4 standing committees of the consolidation, discussions with diocesan leaders, our secretaries and bookkeepers and the principals have come to shore up and really know what we really are financially. And as we brought the two school board budgets together this winter, we saw the writing on the wall. Our deficit of $166,000 comes from closing a gap in teacher salaries. CFS offers the lowest salaries in the whole Archdiocese of all Catholic schools, and DeSales offers the third lowest salaries in the whole Archdiocese. So we had to close the gap in teacher salaries. We had to align the benefit packages that were slightly different in each staff's, and we had to reconcile bookkeeping practices, and including who pays for the utilities. Now it's going to be the school's responsibility to pay for the utilities for our buildings and how the school was funded. We explored many options from including tuition, buildings, and staffing, and it ranged from a very conservative way to close the gap to a very aggressive way to close the gap, to be financially solvent, and the board landed on a decision in the middle. So I really feel that we are a church family, and there are four members to our family, and that's the four parishes. And sometimes families have secrets, and they protect the family and give the impression that things are going okay. But it's important and necessary to get those secrets out so that we can grow and move forward. The second handout that we gave out outlines the methods in which we made it in the past. And unfortunately, making it puts a strain on the parishes, and these are really unsustainable practices. So I just, you don't see it here, but I just want to share with you that we have a sheet that has the history of our four parishes supporting Catholic education. And here are some things that really can't continue anymore. In St. Francis de Sales in Austin, as far back as 2002, there were times when we were unable to pay the teachers, and our last two pastors went above and beyond the call of duty. They went above and beyond by going 88 and 89 years old to their retirement, but secondly, they bled for the school. They were willing to give their own personal money to help us. And Monsignor Hawes, back in 2002, loaned DeSales School to $9,000, and the parish paid Monsignor Hawes back. Then later in 2003, he had to do $3,000. Then later in 2013, DeSales Parish borrowed from their cemetery fund of $20,000 to pay the teachers, and you're just not supposed to do that. And then when I came as pastor on the second day that I was here, we had to get a loan of $20,000, and then quickly another loan of $20,000 in order to pay our teachers. So of the 50 payments that DeSales has made to its school, 17 of those payments, the parish was unable to pay the full assessment. So that shows something. In Calmer, one thing we've seen is that there's been a long history of receiving large loans in order to operate the school, going back all the way to 1990 in our records. 1990, we borrowed $20,000 from the diocese, then the next year $30,000. Then in 92, $25,000. In 94, $25,000. In 96, $30,000. In 98, $21,000. All those loans have been paid off, but that's a lot of loans. Then lastly, right before I became pastor, there was an anonymous donor that gave $20,000 to help St. Aloysius, and that anonymous donor was Father Hawes. He was just so generous. So since I've been pastor, St. Alice has offered 45 payments to CFS, and 34 of those payments we've been able to pay the full assessment, unless we started going into other sources within the parish. St. Wenceslas, there have been 42 payments to CFS, and then 20 of those we've been unable to pay the full assessment. At Festina, there have been 31 payments, and then 20 payments of those we've been able to pay the full assessment. Last summer, in order to pay the teachers for the summer months at CFS, Festina Parish gave $50,000 to the school. If we wouldn't have had that, if we didn't have that payment, we would have been in trouble. So we were very thankful that Festina was able to do that. So in all those, it really shows there are two ways to parent. The first is to keep things from your children, to protect them from harsh realities. But then there's the second way, is that when they're old enough to understand, you explain the reality to them in love. And that's what we want to do today. So the Catholic school cannot sink our parishes. That's the bottom line. As long as I am pastor, we cannot have the parishes go under in order to have our school. But I want to have our school. It's a very important ministry that we offer to the local area. So it means we have to do a both-and solution. And those take a lot of work, a lot of patience, assuming the best in one another, listening to the other, looking at the whole thing and not just from our own perspective of what town or community we belong to. We can have a thriving Catholic school, but we must have a school that does not put the parishes in financial difficulty that is impossible to recover from. So that's the solution that St. Teresa of Calcutta brings. It allows us to offer a good school, but at the same time, it also acknowledges that the parishes cannot be drained to the point of debt in order to offer school ministry. As the parish has sacrificed much for the schools, now parents and other community members need to pitch in, or we need to be more creative in raising the funds we need for our school to be successful and faithful to its mission. So both and solutions are always harder. Either or solutions are easy. I've heard it said in the community, let's just shut down the schools. It's an undue burden on all of us. Let's just all shut them down. Or I've heard, let's just keep on going where we're doing. We'll just go as long as we possibly can in our present situation. Those are simple solutions to complex problems. I prefer both and solutions because it's more honest. It's more balanced. It appreciates the complexity of the challenges we face. So I'm asking all of you to pray and to work together, to be together, to let go of past generational hurts between communities. I'm seeing those past generational hurts affect this school, and it can't if you really want it to succeed. I'm hearing discussion of going back to when they make the decision to build the Ossian Public Middle School in Ossian and how that has forever affected the way communities feel about one another. Spillville and Ossian, Calmer and Ossian. These kids that we're raising aren't even aware of that. The parents who are parents right now aren't even around when that happened. We have to let go of resentment if we're really going to move forward. Each town, each parish cannot make it on its own. That's for schools and that's also for parishes. And we're rubbing up against reality in order to see that now. I know some of you may be upset by saying that, but it's reality, it's the truth. We have to work together. We have to work together. Together. Give and take. It's painful, but there's a good on the other end of it. So as we enter Catholic Schools Week, let's celebrate what we've had together. But also let's celebrate what we're going to have in the future. We had a chance to answer some questions during Masses, and we will offer a handout to get to more of those answers that people may have. I really think we can have a great school. I really do. But we have to do it together. I really pray that you and I and all of us will come together, trust in God's guidance, and make the best school that we can, and it will be around until Jesus comes again. So thanks for listening, and God bless you.